The big problem in the Cambridge public schools is that the optics of equity keep winning out over actual student learning, and it's been that way for a long time. I'm Eugenia Schraa, Eugenia like Eugene, and Schraa rhymes with algebra. I have 2 kids in the public schools, and I'm a former public high school teacher. I taught in the Bronx, and this was my school. Later, I was the head of the Fordham Law School legal education program in Rikers Island Jail, working in the juvenile wards. Besides actual classroom experience, another thing that distinguishes me in this race is that I have a track record on advocacy. For example, I successfully advocated to add an additional 170 after-school seats and to raise after-school teacher pay. And I cannot tell you how deeply unsexy that work was. I worked with a partner to grow an email list of families, and we followed the city. When they released reports, we crunched the numbers. When they released statements, we parsed the actual meaning, and then we would ask those families to speak up when it most mattered at public meetings. Today, as a school candidate, I'm already influencing policy with my weekly newsletter, available at voteeugenia.com. Local media has taken up 2 of my recent stories, one on troubling data out of the Fletcher Maynard Academy and one on the superintendent search, and you can Google that if you're curious. So as I said, the schools continually put equity optics over student learning with predictably poor results. What I mean is that CPS teaches all kids at the same level, regardless of mastery. The clearest example is with algebra. Here are the stats for the current 8th graders at the end of 7th grade, so in June. If you could study this closely, you would see that a full third of the class is above grade level and roughly half is below grade level, with 15% of the entire class 3 grade levels or more below. And yet, all of these kids are in the same 8th grade class right now. And that makes it seem like the school has no problems. But it is not equitable to allow a third of your class to be bored. Please bear in mind, school committee did not push back when the head of math publicly stated that kids bored in class because they mastered the material can just sit and do Sudoku during class time instead. And that's a publicly available commercial game. It's certainly not equitable to allow half your class to be lost and demoralized, possibly even turning away from school completely because they're not ready for the material. So what do we need from school committee? First, school committee must push back on the claim that meeting kids where they are is unconscionable tracking. It is actually the hard work of building real equity. When we allow much needed pull-out or push-in services in elementary schools, all of that could equally be labeled tracking. And let's not forget that there are countless examples of secret tracking where families in the know get their kids into better classes inside or outside of the schools, and that the schools turn a blind eye to it because it releases pressure from them. So transparently, honestly meeting kids where they are is a good and a necessary thing. And while we shouldn't trap kids in their tracks, we do need so much more by way of flexibility. A second thing that we need from school committee is a lot less time using the word equity and a lot more detail-oriented, boots-on-the-ground work like I brought to my after-school advocacy or my school newsletters. And again, those are at voteeugenia.com. Finally, school committee needs to start focusing on doing more of what works and less on what doesn't. An obvious idea there is that we should be replicating programs families want, such as the Montessori and the bilingual programs. But there is also a wealth of robust research out there on how public schools unlock economic mobility. Economists like Raj Chetty have shown that it all boils down to one not at all surprising factor, which is great teachers. So yes, we need to recruit and support great teachers. We need to listen to them and make sure that they are not feeling burned out. And there's, of course, another part. If they aren't doing a great job, if with support it isn't helping them to be as great as our students deserve, we have to have the spine to let them go. And the same goes, of course, for principals and administrators. School committee for so long has been in the business of making everybody, all of the adults in the school buildings happy. But it needs to get into the business of setting our students up for success. We need to ensure that they can actually learn. On November 4th, vote for a leader with an actual track record and real classroom experience. Thank you.